This tiny RGB light is from a company called Colbor, and I've never heard of this brand before. However, this light is pretty awesome. So this is called the CL60R, and that means that it's a 60 watt light that's also RGBWW and does all the colours, as well as having a couple of unique features up its sleeve. It's obviously small and bright and has RGB, but you can also attach softboxes to it, which makes it great for creators in small spaces. Not only that though, because it's portable and can be powered via USB-C, if you've got the correct power banks, you can take this pretty much anywhere. Finally, because of its unique design with all these ridges and grooves on its body, it's compatible with a whole bunch of NATO rail accessories, and you can connect multiple of these lights together. Before we properly get started though, I probably should say that Colbor did send me out this light to check out and do a review and whatever, but they haven't paid me anything. They literally just want my opinion on what I think about this light. Honestly, most lights are pretty great these days, or at least they're going to be good enough for the content that you make. The thing that separates most fixtures is going to be price, obviously, functionality, and, well, ease of use. So before we get into all of that though, what do you actually get when you first purchase the Colbor CL60R? So first of all, everything comes in this premium carry case, which is great for just holding it all if you need to travel. You obviously get the light itself and a reflector which increases the intensity of the beam, a Bowens mount so you can attach modifiers like softboxes, a mount for attaching it to stands, and finally the power cable, which is obviously USB-C. So in this video we're going to be showing off this light, and I thought the best way of doing that is to demonstrate how I would use something like this in a couple of different scenarios. But before then, let's talk about some specs. The Colbor CL60R is actually a 65 watt LED light. In bicolor mode, it ranges from a very warm 2700 Kelvin all the way up to a cool 6500. It has 13 built-in lighting effects, some of which even react to music and sound. And as I said earlier on, it's got a Bowens mount adapter, which means you can attach any modifier that you need to, such as softboxes. One of the most common setups for a light like this is going to be shooting like a talking head or an interview style or like a YouTube style video. So I'm going to go into this bedroom and hopefully set one up to demonstrate how you could use the Colbor CL60R in a setup like this. This is probably the simplest setup you'll ever see using this type of light, because currently I've just got the light turned on to full, I'm bouncing it off a wall in this bedroom, and you get a light like this. It's very just soft and flat, it doesn't look very stylized, but it's lighting my face, lighting the room, and it looks okay for a talking head video like this. However, if you are someone who wants something a little bit more stylized in the way that like I shoot my videos with like nice shadows on your face and contrast and the background to be a little bit darker, using something like a little softbox like this can really help to like change the entire look of your content. It's honestly wild how big of a difference this makes, just taking a softbox and a grid and using it on the light to point at yourself instead of before we were bouncing it off the wall and having the light spill everywhere. This image looks a lot more like dramatic and potentially a bit more cinematic now, but I will say if it's for a YouTube video or something like that, just talking to camera, it might be a little bit too dark. So you could potentially grab a light like this and maybe an RGB one, something with a bit of color that's different to what's lighting your face, put it behind you like this, and as you can see, the room doesn't look as dark and dreary now. It adds a bit of color and interest and just looks a bit more professional. When I first got into filmmaking and content creation and stuff like that, the advice that was kind of floating around the space, and it makes some sense, is to buy, when you're first buying your lights, to get the biggest, most powerful light you could possibly afford, and then pair that with a big old softbox, and then that way you'll end up with like really nice, soft, flattering light on your skin and face and stuff in your content and films and any other videos you're going to make. But I've got a couple of issues with that advice. The first being, you've spent all your money on one light and one softbox, so that means you haven't got any money left to light the room that you're in. So you'll look great, but your background will look very boring or very dark and just very meh. It's not going to look the best. And secondly, big old softboxes also aren't the easiest to control or have in small spaces and stuff. So sure, they do look great, but a lot of creators, especially people like me who are in small spaces, would be much better spending that money on a couple of like cheaper, smaller lights like these, and pairing them with also smaller softboxes, which are still going to do the job for talking heads like this. But that way, you'll actually have
more interesting lighting because you'll be able to place it specifically where you want it to go.
Another great use for a light like this is when you're trying to do something that's a bit more like narrative driven. If you're trying to do like a short film or just something that feels and looks a bit more cinematic, then the features in this light are super useful. The fact that it's really small is great, that you can hide it around sets and stuff so it's not in shot, but also the fact it's got effects built in, such as fire flickering, TV mode, or even like lightning and stuff, can really help enhance the narrative that you're trying to tell. So for example, if I wanted to set up like a cinematic nighttime stormy shoot, I'd put a light outside one of my windows in my kitchen and stuff like that, and then I can switch it to like lightning mode, add some lights inside my kitchen, and then obviously you'll get a nice cinematic kind of shot like this.
Ideally, I would have took this light and had it a little bit higher and like further away than I had it because it would look more natural that way, but I'm filming all of this by myself and today is the windiest day ever and I don't want to have my light out there super high and it potentially fall over or break something, so you get the idea.
One of my absolute favorite things about lights like these is basically just the size of them. It just makes them so portable and usable, and as someone who likes to keep his kit as minimal as possible, because the more I have to carry, the less likely I am to take it, having lights that are small means that I'll actually take it to events, I'll actually use it for filmmaking, I'll take it to weddings and stuff, so it's actually important that stuff is easy to use for me because I don't often work in big teams. So having a light that can just easily fit in like a bag like this, and I can take a little softbox, which obviously will fit in the bag next to it, and I can finally put like my camera just next to both of them in here, which is great. And then all I'd have to do is obviously put my other accessories like batteries and stuff and then strap a light stand to the top of my bag, and I could have everything all in this one bag, which honestly looks pretty great, especially as this entire setup breaks down into a bag that's like this small. So it's so easy to take all this equipment and have a great looking footage if you're traveling or generally just on the go. Speaking of creating on the go though, this light's also great for that type of content for the fact that you don't actually have to plug it in. This light can also be powered by a power bank as long as it's got a USB-C power delivery. I think it needs about 60 watt and up. Anything like above that, then you'll be able to power this light without having to plug it into wall outlets.
I'm sure by now we can all agree that this is actually a pretty great light. It's useful, versatile, portable, something that anyone could really use in their lighting kit. But it actually has one more trick up its sleeve, which is also really unique. So the Colbor CL60R actually has like these ridges and grooves along the side of it, and that means that it can attach accessories that are NATO rail compatible. But more than that, you can actually attach lights to other lights, and that means instead of having a 60 watt light, you're actually like almost doubling the power, so you can have like a huge amount of output. So like I said earlier on, if you spend your money on multiples of these lights, if you do need a bigger, brighter light, you can just attach them together and then you have it without the inconvenience of only having one big light. You've got a few smaller ones depending on what you actually need. As with all equipment though, it's never going to be 100% perfect. There's always going to be downsides, especially on budget options like this one. So what are the actual issues with the Colbor CL60R? First of all, it's a bicolor light as well as RGB and stuff like that, which does sound good and is very useful, but that also means that it's not quite as bright as other lights which are dedicated daylight lights. So if you're someone that needs that power in a small package, you might be better off suited buying the daylight version of this or the daylight version of something else instead, because the fact it has to do multiple colors means that it loses out on a little bit of power. Secondly, I think this is more of a me issue than anything else, but no matter what I do, I cannot get the app to work with my phone and this light. I've watched a ton of other videos on this and other people that have made this type of content. They say the app's awesome, but for some reason I've tried multiple times to actually get the app to work, and even though my phone can find it and it says Colbor and I click on it and stuff, it won't connect. So I have no idea if the app is good or not because I just cannot connect these two things together. But it might be my issue just because my phone's a bit older, but it shouldn't be. Another small issue is obviously you can mount all of these lights together and have multiple ones stacked and more powerful light. That is great. Love that feature, very unique. But you cannot have reflectors or other modifiers attached to them easily when they're like attached together. If you do want a softbox or a modifier and stuff, Colbor do kind of sell proprietary ones that fit that type of setup, but you can't use ones that you already own, just the standard Bowens mount. You need special ones to actually fit that kind of like lighting rig. Other than that though, like this light's amazing. It's such a good choice for like beginners or people on a budget because it's so versatile, portable, does amazing quality light and stuff. So all of the small caveats that I kind of encountered, that's the word, are very small and things that are easily worked around or forgivable because of the price of this. Speaking of the price though, this is around, or at least in the UK, it's around £200 or so, which is great for an RGB bi-color light. But if you're not interested in the colored side of this and you just want a daylight light version, then you can save like £50 or so and get this for around 150 instead in just daylight version. Overall though, fantastic light and something that I can see myself using a lot, especially in these small spaces and stuff, because I have other bigger lights which are just not great for my tiny little office. And if you're like me and you also like stream or you do YouTube videos and stuff, then this will serve you really well. Anyway, if you have any questions or like queries or just want to talk about the Colbor lights, drop it in the comments down below. I'll try and reply either with text or a video. And if you actually want to improve your lighting, check out another video I made, and I'll see you all in the next one.